Satan only gives us mutated technologies and mutated systems that control us and dumb us down in an attempt to play God and build an artificial system to predict the future. The devil doesn't have omnipresence. The devil is trying to use humans made in the image of God to build a God machine to be able to understand the future and decipher everything. The devil only knows how to con people and manipulate people because he is a magician. He is a deceiver. He is a fraud. He is a lie. He is not 1/1 trillionth what the Creator is. To hell with the devil. Straight to the pit with Satan. Down with Satan in the name of Jesus Christ. Get behind me, Satan!
Atheists are great people. Great people.
It's God's country. Get those signs down. Get them down. Evil will happen in Corpus Christi. Get them down.
And welcome to Atheist Airwaves on Secular FM Radio. That's secular.fm. I'm Jay Guerrero.
I'm Susan Turpin.
I'm Luce Lum.
And I'm Christian Ferris.
Atheist Airwaves is Corpus Christi's only radio show for atheists and the secular-minded. We're sponsored by Corpus Christi Atheists and, of course, the South Texas Coalition of Reason. Today, what are we talking about today, Christian?
Well, first and foremost, we're going to be talking to our special guest, Raul Antony, who is a priest in the Church of Satan. So that's exciting.
Yay.
We could not have asked for a better time for Alex Jones to go on an anti-Satan rant. So he did that just for us. So that was who that idiot was in the intro audio. We'll also be discussing tonight the regrettable death of Fred Phelps of Westboro Baptist Church infamy. Moment of silence.
Regrettable? Anyway.
Governor Scott Walker gets a cease and desist for proselytizing from the governor's office. People giving credit to God for not letting them die like those schmucks he didn't care about. And a local separation of church and state confrontation. But first, with us today is Raul Antony, who is a priest in the Church of Satan. Thank you for joining us today, Raul.
Oh, thank you for having me.
First of all, let me give you and your fellow Satanists a great big thank you. You're taking up residence one rung below atheists on the public hate ladder. And, you know, it's bad enough that pedophiles are a rung above us. So it's nice to have someone to look down on. So, you know, we appreciate your service, sir.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's something that it's been happening since the 60s, you know, these misconceptions. And actually, it's been worse in the 80s and 90s with the Satanic Panic. So I guess it could be worse.
Yeah, I got to tell you, my mother in the 80s threw away all my Iron Maiden albums. She threw away my Dungeons and Dragons because she thought it was
all the fun stuff.
Right?
What the hell?
Yeah. So, yeah, I've never been a Satanist, but I have firsthand knowledge of how that was not cool in the 80s.
Yeah, those are heirlooms now. Those are
right.
quite valuable.
I'm so
You might find them in like a thrift shop,
Yeah.
you know, or like an antique store.
So when we usually have guests, and we have guests of all different kinds of faith and no faith, we usually at this point ask them, you know, what their particular faith is. In this case, we kind of know, but do you want to tell us a little bit about how you became a Satanist?
All right, yeah. So I became a Satanist. Well, I think it's important to note that one doesn't really become a Satanist. One kind of recognizes oneself as a Satanist. And I guess that happened with me when I was a teenager. I was about probably 15 or so, and I came across the Satanic Bible. Of course, the cover was appealing, you know, black cover with a pentagram, and it stuck out to me. And I was a kid in a bookstore going through the occult section and the conspiracy books, you know, and just flipping through everything. And I came across that book, and I read through it, and I picked it up, took it home. I was grew up in New York City. So I was taking a subway home, and I was reading through it, and I was so into it that I completely missed my stop. So I was just sitting there reading, and the whole time I'm thinking, like, this person is kind of laying out how I've always thought, and there are certain things that were kind of better said, and also with the symbolism and everything, it really captured a lot of what I was thinking at the time. And so since then, I've considered myself a Satanist, and and that continued throughout my teenage years through college. But I didn't actually join, say, the Church of Satan until I think my first year in college. So there was some time between that when I was comfortable saying, now I am, comfortable declaring myself as a Satanist through the Church of Satan.
Yeah, it's weird. I have kind of a similar story. I mean, obviously, I didn't become a Satanist, but when I was around 15 and 16, I worked in a library, and I was just shelving books and stuff. And one time, I was reshelving the Satanic Bible, and I saw the cover. It was all black. It's got a little pentagram on it. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take this and read it. I was hoping for something a little more evil, I guess. I had those misconceptions, and I've always been very surprised that Satanism, to me, at least Church of Satan,
Right.
is a lot more moral position than a lot of, especially like the Abrahamic religions.
Absolutely, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I believe that morals are subjective. I mean, there are certain, say, baseline morals that, obviously, don't kill children, don't harm animals. Those kind of the basic things.
Hold on,
And
go back to that
there's certain-
first one. Don't kill children?
Yeah, I
But
mean,
can
it's
we eat
pretty
them if
laid
they're
out
already
there.
dead?
Yeah. And it's funny because it's like right there in front of you, and then people, that's like the first thing they gleam over. And it's funny you mentioned about being kind of disappointed in that. Being a teenager, I was really into heavy metal music and death metal and all that stuff, and all these other kids that knew about it, like, oh, that stuff is so weak. Like, oh no, it's not real Satanism, and it, to me, in my experience, with those kind of people, is like, well, you're living in your mother's basement, and how's that getting?
How's the eighth
how's that
grade
working out
going?
for you? Like, I don't know about that, and to me. This Satanism that's kind of that is espoused by LaVey in the Satanic Bible was more pragmatic. It was a realistic philosophy, and it wasn't. It of course it has that kind of symbolism, the ritual and the drama through the image of Satan and all that, but behind that is something that's pragmatic, that is applicable to the real world, and that's what attracted me mostly. It was a guideline, a philosophy for accomplishing things in the real world, because that's all we have.
Sure. And now, I'm sure you've gone over this hundreds of times, if not thousands, being in your position.
That's
but,
fine.
If you can, for the listeners that we have here listening now, and the people that are going to be listening into the recorded segment, can you just kind of give us a brief rundown of what Satanism really is?
Okay, well, Satanism was defined by Anton LaVey in 1966, and it was best put out by the Satanic Bible, and it is the main document for the Church of Satan. And Anton LaVey also wrote a series of books after that, the Satanic Rituals, Satan Speaks, and through all those texts, Anton LaVey laid out a philosophy that is, like I said, based on a combination of truth and fantasy. So there are some certain, say, like the certain dogmas, like the 11 satanic rules of the earth, 9 satanic statements, and a series of symbols and iconography that recognizes the importance of religion. So the baseline is atheistic. We don't believe in a anthropomorphic God. We don't believe in, somebody sitting in the clouds that's, omnipresent and knows all your thoughts. So, but we also recognize that there is a role for religion, a role for having metaphors that can be used to communicate ideas, to celebrate certain milestones in life. And we recognize that all men and women, people in general, create their gods, they create their religions, and throughout cultures they're created in their own images. So we say, well, if people create gods and you worship that god, you're in turn worshiping that person. So Satanism just cuts out the middleman and says, well, we create our own gods, we are our own gods, we
Skipping a
worship
step.
ourselves. Yeah, and it's best embodied by the symbol of Satan, since all the Abrahamic religions throughout Western culture Satan has become that archetypal adversary, the opposer, the symbol of pride and liberty. So we believe that not just from a spiritual perspective, but also from a cultural perspective. That's the symbol that best represents our philosophy. So our Satan is that of Milton, of Twain. It's this carnal, materialistic religion that's not only not only direct opposition to the spiritual religions, but also the hypocritical moralities that come along with that and that go throughout society. So that is why it's more than just a symbol. It's not just, like on that Reddit thread, people were like, oh, Satanism is just a troll religion. Okay, well, why don't you just call yourselves atheists? Why don't you just, it's just Satan, it's just atheism with Satan. But it's more than that, because there is a series of dogmas, like I said, and a culture that is attached to it.
Well, like you said, how there's a culture attached to it. Do you have a community of sort of fellow members of the Church of Satan that you spend time with, that you hang out with, or is it more sort of you're very independent and sort of self-centered, like a lot of it calls for?
Oh, well, that's actually a really good point. That individualism is a big part of Satanism, and in that way, there is no real community, in a sense that or a Satanists get together and hold hands and go to meetings
Sing
and
Kumbaya.
group hugs. Yeah, sing.
That's kind of what atheists
Kumbaya.
do. I don't know if you know that.
No,
Yeah.
we just get drunk. That's
You
our
have to
kumbaya.
individual.
You have to get drunk in this. You're living in South Texas.
Yeah.
Satanists do get drunk, and I've gotten drunk with plenty of Satanists. But,
Nice. I
and
like it.
so it's up to each individual. How comfortable are you with others that may or may not share your philosophy? And it's also important to know that this is like a fundamental kind of ground, very principled philosophy, in the sense that you have these foundations, but you can build upon it and you apply it to the real world, and you could apply it to a variety of philosophies and politics. And so you may agree with another Satanist on these fundamentals, but you may completely disagree on other things because you've applied Satanism in a totally different
It's
aspect
more
or a totally
open
different
to
way.
interpretation.
Yeah,
too,
well, I mean,
in a sense.
sure, it's open to application, I would say, rather than interpretation.
does make more
It's
sense. Yeah,
very
that's a
it's very plain English, but but you could apply it in different ways. So, but the Satanists do get together when they feel they have a common interest. So, for example, we have concerts. When there's a Satanist playing a show, if they're a member of the Church of Satan, they'll communicate that to the Church of Satan, saying, "Hey, can you please promote my show?" And we'll post it on our
usually-
newsfeed.
Are there any members of the Church of Satan that artists that we would know? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, some of the obvious ones are like Marilyn Manson, who was very kind of open about his Satanism, but he he used it in his Antichrist Superstar phase, and he kind of moved beyond that. Kind of got, he was friends with, well, not honestly friends, but he met Anton LaVey, and he wrote an introduction to Satan Speaks. So he was into that for a while. I'm not familiar. I'm not sure if he still considers himself a Satanist or not, but
Kind of a phase.
that
So-
was a thing.
This brings
Yeah.
up a really good point for me, which my skeptic alert is constantly going off all the time, just in life in general.
Sure.
Makes it really hard for me to make friends. But
I know that
anyway,
feel.
so I imagine that it would be really easy for like artists or people with any sort of commercial interest to really tap into this idea of Satanism, both this the Anton LaVey, like, this is the real Satanism segment, and also like the fake Satanists that we were like talking about earlier, and using those symbols and that kind of aesthetic for to sell records or T-shirts or
Creativity's sake.
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's a gimmick.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it could be easily gimmickized. So is there anything that you guys, that someone interested in preserving the quote-unquote sanctity of the idea of the Satanist practice or whatever?
I like that. The sanctity of Satan.
How do you deal with stuff like that?
Well,
even
I mean, we're real. Well, that's a very good point. Do we care?
Well, I mean, I
It's-
read
we're
on your
realistic- well,
website.
Well, we're realistic about things. Obviously, you know, an artist, a musician is going to want to Satan sells. I mean, they're going to want to
Sure.
apply that imagery, and you know, the Church of Satan will support certain individuals or certain artists who are doing that, so long as they're not doing other things that are contradictory to the philosophy. And if that's the case, then we'll just stop promoting them. I mean, we're not gonna, you know, knock on people's doors and say, "Hey, stop talking about Satanism." I mean, that's kind of, you know, that's not how we do things.
Sure.
But you know, it's we choose who we want to promote or not, and who do we want to endorse or not. I mean, at the end of the day, it's each individual's decision on how they want to apply it. A lot of, I mean, it goes beyond just musicians as well. I mean, there are plenty of activists nowadays who are Satanists, but they're not publicly Satanists. But you could almost tell, like, in how they present themselves and how they their train of thought. You know, okay, there's a bit of the diabolical in them. I mean, we've got, you know, people who are doing things like they're active in WikiLeaks, or they're active in, say, whistleblowing, or we have some people who are doing research in helping out the environment, or helping out people in Japan who've been exposed to radiation. We have a Satanist who developed a Geiger counter, a mobile Geiger counter.
So you're telling me that Satanists are out there doing good things? I find that
Out there doing good things.
It's almost like
doing
atheists do that
productive
too.
things.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say we
and-
get a lot of
Yeah.
we get a lot of reactions locally because we do a lot of volunteer work as a group here in Corpus Christi, and people get angry that we're doing good things, you know. So I kind of get
They
where
focus more on the fact that we're
Yeah.
atheists, that we
Stop
have no
looking at my
religion.
preconceived notions, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So you mentioned that you know, you have a lot of people who are openly members of the Church of Satan who are more than happy to admit it. Who do you think is secretly a member of the Church of Satan? Like
Let's out some people.
If I knew it, so
I like it.
yeah, we have members who I know that are Satanists, that they don't go around talking about it. It's not necessarily a secret. If you ask them, they probably would say, "Yeah, I'm a Satanist," but you know, they don't go around talking about Satanism. The funny thing is, I don't really talk about Satanism in my day-to-day life, other than you know, doing this interview, doing that AMA,
Reddit.
or if I'm with other Satanists and the topic happens to come up, I very rarely talk about it. It's more like how you live your life is the kind of representation of Satanism. For example, I guess. As a Jacob Applebaum, he's a spokesman for WikiLeaks, and he doesn't go around talking about Satanism per se. He doesn't really talk about being in the Church of Satan, but it's come up in interviews. He said it, yeah.
And he's
I'm a
openly
Satanist. Yeah,
admitted.
he doesn't hide it, but he doesn't.
He doesn't
flaunt it, and that's-
run around yelling, "I'm a Satanist" everywhere he
Yeah.
goes.
He doesn't
Yeah,
wear
and that's not
Satanist
necess-
t-shirts like we do.
Oh
Atheist
yeah,
t-shirts.
yeah.
No, I
Yeah,
just
have
want one of the
plenty
ones that
those.
says Sagan, not Satan.
We have plenty of people who are in CFI, who are involved in the
Nice.
atheist community, who are, I mean, it's no coincidence that our 666 satanic mass was done at the Los Angeles Center for CFI.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And
That's cool.
I'm sorry,
we are on.
I'm totally ignorant. What is CFI?
I don't
Center
know.
for
Center for
Inquiry.
Okay. Got it.
They're
Thanks.
everywhere.
Yeah, the Center
Yeah.
for Inquiry. Yeah, and we on June 6, 2006, we had one of the first public satanic masses.
That's a
And that
really
was
good.
done at CFI.
That's a good stepping off point because you mentioned earlier about ritual. What kind of rituals do Satanists have? I'm just curious.
Well, rituals are they're described. Well, they're part of what we call greater magic, and
That would be
I mean,
another
that's
question I
actually
have.
probably yeah.
The greater
I mean, that
magic,
is
lesser
actually
magic
the-
thing.
Yeah, I have
Yes,
some questions about that
wonderful.
It's a
also.
big thing that comes up. It's a big thing that comes up with the atheist community and the skeptic community, and they're like, "Whoa, magic! Okay, well, this has,"
Right.
and that's understandable. It is a point of divergence because, you know, we say that, you know, atheism is just a non-belief and you don't believe in God, but it doesn't really. There's other things to Satanism that where we can diverge. Personally, well, let's take a step back. There's lesser magic, which is just persuasion, which is the manipulation of events using, like I said, like body language, speech, appearance, things like that, to gain an advantage in a certain situation. So That's kind of like showmanship. That would be
Charisma.
stage
Charisma,
magician.
yeah.
That's what I would call
Yeah,
charisma.
yeah. So, I mean, LaVey didn't
alert.
really distinguish between the showman, the stage magician pulling a rabbit out of a hat, and the magus, the occultist. He said, well, you kind of have to be both in certain ways. But anyway,
But
so
it's
Wait,
grounded.
just to interrupt, Alex Jones did say that Satan was a magician.
Yes.
So,
Satan was a
snap.
musician as well, I'm sure. Anyway, go ahead.
sure.
He went
That's
down
all
to
right.
Georgia, if you're familiar.
Oh my
With
god.
a fiddle of gold.
So tell us about greater magic.
So then greater magic is you have 3 types of ritual that are in greater magic, and that's the destruction ritual, the compassion ritual, and the lust rituals. So, and there are 2 kind of schools of thought within the Church of Satan and Satanists. One school of thought is that these rituals are psychodrama. They are what we call, say, voluntary ignorance. You put yourself in a situation where you present these symbols, these chants, this kind of ceremonial environment where you put yourself in a situation where you're just driven by emotion, and it can be self-medicating. Say you have a person that has hurt you or hurt somebody you love, you do a destruction ritual. You kind of symbolically destroy this person.
Kind of a
And
catharsis.
yeah, it allows you
Exactly.
to process it in a
perfect.
different
Yeah.
way.
So it'd be similar to like burning an effigy or something like
And
that.
burning an effigy, yeah, that is part of it. And
Wow.
so you let go of that kind of pent up anger, and it allows you to move on with your life in a productive way. So that's one school of thought. Then there's another school of thought within Satanism, and this is where it tends to diverge, is that there are some Satanists, and this is not required of Satanists, but some who believe that through that process, there may be something where we can project images or thoughts outside of normal means, and thus affect the course of events. It is what's called you create a scenario, an is to be, and then by projecting this will, you create the is to be.
Right.
That's like some Carrie shit right there.
Well, yeah. So
in a sense.
So there's sane Satanists and then there's less sane Satanists.
well, I wouldn't
Some of them aren't
I guess
hanging
it's
out at
insane.
CFI, is what.
I mean, it's funny because there's some within that community that may be open to that. We don't. There is some research done and to say that may or may not be possible, and it's one of the things that, as a Satanist, you have to be skeptical. We don't know whether that stuff is possible or not.
Yeah.
I
I'm not gonna touch
personally,
that
I would
I'm
be
in the
really
school that
interested in
works
seeing.
psychodrama.
I would be really interested in seeing that scientific data. It sounds like the scientific data that the Scientologists have to me. But I'm open. I'm open to seeing it.
Yeah, and it's
just
also,
need to be
it's also based on
convinced.
personal experience. If that's something you're doing and that's something you experience, and you're experiencing things that are outside of coincidence, then
Human experience is such a poor
it
indicator
is,
of actual
and we
reality,
don't-
though.
and we like to say that it's something that's super normal, that it's not supernatural. It's nothing that has anything to do with
Is it the
any
opposite of
outside
weird?
deities.
The opposite of weird.
He's
Come
not
on.
weird. He's super normal.
Yeah,
Normal.
yeah.
It's like
Well,
infamous.
there's always the weird in us, yeah.
Even more famous.
Okay, so you were talking about some other rituals. I'm really curious about this lust ritual.
Right? I love this.
Of course you are. Of all people, of course you are.
That is.
Jay, I just mimed to you what it was.
I know. I was gonna say like Luz is miming
It-
things,
it
and
is.
everyone else is
I think
giggling.
she's
So I'm
trying
with
to
the.
like beat like a gopher.
A
into-
a
chicken.
really-
No.
Oh, you're trying
That's
to
a
get-
really visual thing.
Choke it. I'm trying to choke it.
But that really encapsulates our show. Is that
Lots of really
We're all-
inappropriate jokes.
we're all
yeah.
snickering about lust. So what did you?
Yeah, expound, please. Educate
Tell us
us on
so
these
that we
lust
can
rituals.
move on, please.
Well, lust rituals are that you have a person that you lust after, and then you perform a series of rituals where you imagine yourself with that person, or in whatever situation it is that you may want.
So it's
There's
just
some people
Constant
it's just
masturbation.
masturbation.
Constant
part of it,
masturbation.
I
mean,
do the
that's-
lust ritual all the time.
And you know what? That is a lust ritual in and of itself. It is.
Okay,
And,
so fucking is a lust ritual, guys.
So, guys, I think I might be a Satanist.
Well, actually, no. That's a really good question. I'm gonna diverge from your path there because so it seems to me that, and it's possibly because it's been described to me this way before, that hedonism plays a large role in Satanism. First, is that accurate? And second, as a hedonist and an atheist, what separates me from your religion?
You are very self-involved.
Yeah, that's actually one of the during the Reddit AMA that I was asked what are some of the common misconceptions, and that is it's true, but it is a misconception where we see hedonism as something that's compulsive, like you have to always seek pleasure, whereas Satanism is more Epicurean, where we are rationally self-interested. So if seeking pleasure at a given time is going to be counterproductive, well, we're not going to do that. I mean, there are certain impulses one has to curb in order to maintain freedom and maintain a healthy standard of living.
So, for example, you can't just, while you're eye fucking someone during the lust ritual, you can't just go start humping them.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure I understand.
Well,
that's what
I
we
mean,
would diverge. Yeah.
that's a really interesting point. I mean, that brings up something that people knock around in all kinds of ethical conversations, where you talk about hedonism from a logical perspective, or not following a desire out of compulsion, but because of some sort of logical decision that you've made. Basically, coming from the perspective that if you did follow every hedonistic compulsion, you would somehow negatively impact your life in a greater way. Right?
Yeah.
So is that not just kind of like the next higher level of hedonism, in that you're still acting in your own self-interest for your own positive outcomes, but maybe not the immediate positive outcome, but for the next positive outcome?
Greater
The
good.
longer term positive outcome?
Yeah. I
Your
mean,
whole
that's why
entire
we
life.
would say it's Epicurean, or that would be Satanism. Yeah.
Right.
You know what, Luz? I think I'm a Satanist now.
Well, I find all of this really fascinating, Raul, and a
So
lot
do
of
I.
things that I read, and I didn't know much about Satanism before we knew that we were going to have you for a guest. So apologize if I'm super ignorant. But that like the 9 satanic statements, right? I think are super interesting, because it looks to me like you could.
The statements or the sins?
The
They're
statements.
Statements.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, all of it.
There's
I
9
got
of
all
each?
these lists in
Okay.
front of me, and they're all amazing. And
I
love
do
them
like
all.
how the
And
first
I want to
sin
talk
is
about every single
stupidity.
one of them.
I love
I mean,
that.
the first. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Well,
Oh,
I mean, we could talk about them all, and we don't have to talk about them all, but
I don't think we can actually talk about it.
right.
We have a limited time frame.
I mean, okay, so I'll just read a few off. Satan represents indulgence instead of abstinence. Satan represents vital existence instead of spiritual pipe dreams. Satan represents undefiled wisdom instead of hypocritical self-defeat. Satan represents kindness to those who deserve it instead of love without waste on ingrates. Blah, blah, blah. On and on and on and on. Right? These guys are telling me, get on with the point. And the point is, like, I feel like I could look at any of these and, like,
You
insert...
motherfucker.
I do
You clearly did not.
I swear on my life.
Do not turn the other cheek. Yeah.
Right. So I feel like I could insert my own name into any of these statements, and instead of Satan, or the name of, or just not even blah 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 represents, but you could just call these like awesome ideas for living a cool life, right? So the broader question is, why Satan?
Well, I mean, that's a good point in the sense that, well, we do put ourselves in the term, in replacement of Satan. We are Satan. But
Right.
there's, if you look through that, the 9 satanic statement, there's some people who that wouldn't apply to. There are some people who will want to turn the other cheek, who are pacifists, that would not jive with them. There are certain people who take pleasure in spiritual pipe dreams, and they like that. That gives them comfort. There are people, there's some things in there that, are not going to correlate with some other people's kind of lifestyles and outlooks. So if you find yourself that you're easily able to attach yourself to that, then, well, you might be on a certain path there. But there's more to that, in the sense that, Satanism is what Peter Gilmore calls a meta tribe, because these ethics, or these ground rules, are just a ground level, and there's applications of this. There's a certain kind of aesthetic. There is a certain kind of appreciation for a darker lifestyle, I guess one can say, like the Addams Family, or something like that. It's like, so there is that kind of, there is a role of that, these kind of things are important to a Satanist, an aesthetic of some kind. Because if you go beyond the 9 satanic statements, then you go into, say, the satanic sins, and you think, well, all right, lack of aesthetics is one of the sins. If you don't have a way of presenting yourself in some way that you feel pleasurable, if you're just some kind of sloppy person, well, maybe Satanism is going to work for you. But maybe you
Taking
like that.
pride in your
Well,
appearance.
but
Yeah, taking pride
isn't
of
there
yourself.
Yeah.
an idea that, well, it says right here, aesthetics is a personal thing reflective of one's own nature.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe that works for you. Maybe you're a comedian, maybe you're an actor, and being, an Artie Lang type, and that kind of sloppy kind of look goes for you and works for you.
It just
but
works.
it's how do you apply that, and how do you make that work for you?
So that last sin is lack of aesthetics. What do you guys do to tacky Satanists?
Take them on what not
we
to
tell them
wear.
go away. No.
What not to wear Satanist edition, I guess.
That is open to interpretation in some ways. I guess open to application, and it's more of like how do you get things done in the real world? You want to make yourself stand out. How many people have you walked by, out in public, and who stood out to you? Why did they stand out to you? And how does that help you in the real world? There's a bit of the Machiavellian to that, but it's important, and it's realistic, and that's just how, whether it's moral or it's good or bad. I mean, that's not the case. It's just what is. There are certain things that are just appealing or repulsive to people, and you can make that work when it best suits you.
Gotcha. Okay, so real quick, I just want to remind everyone that Corpus Christi Atheist meets every Sunday at 5:30. This weekend, we're going to be at B&J's off of SPID. Visit ccatheist.com for a complete listing of our events, or visit South Texas COR to connect with our sister organizations, and obviously tune into secular.fm for other godless programming. Right now, we are talking with Raul Anthony. He is a priest with the Church of Satan. And did you have a question for him?
The chat room actually has some questions for him. One of the questions was how you felt about the Oklahoma City monument, but I know that that's the Satanic Temple. So there are different sects of Satanism. Is that accurate to say?
I mean, I hesitate saying that there are different sects, but I mean, one can take whatever they want and make of it what they will. But that is the Satanic Temple, and they're not at all related to the Church of Satan. From what I understand, they have more of a kind of social justice, humanist philosophy.
I didn't realize that. I thought they were one and the same.
No, they're different, and I mean, personally, I'm not. I don't really care for that monument. Actually, the Church of Satan stance is that we don't think there should be any monuments at all, and we actually agree with the American Humanist organization that is working towards suing the Oklahoma
right
the legislators there in order to get that down, get the Ten Commandments down. Yeah. So at the end of the day, those kind of stunts like that, we ask, well, who gains from that? Who does that? Who? What does that achieve?
Really benefit.
Although I gotta say, just thinking about it, that it kind of drew attention to the fact that there were Christian monuments up there, and AHA had already sued them over the Ten Commandments monument, but they shut down the monuments really fast because the Satanic Temple asked to put their monument up, and then I think Hindus tried to apply to put theirs up, and we started talking about how Oklahoma City courthouse was going to start looking like a garage sale, and I think that Jay just caught the moth that was
the one that I was looking around at like I was a cat.
But I think there is some value. I mean, I think we would all agree with you that there should be no religious monuments up on public grounds at all. But I do think that maybe there's value in bringing out just how ridiculous the whole thing is.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I could see that benefit, but I have to ask, at what cost is that? To me, it seems to be like something like, well, we put up the statue with little children everywhere, and it kind of it's meant to be. I don't know. Personally, I find that it's kind of meant to be repulsive. It's kind of it's supposed to be there. It's to as some kind of satire, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
is Satanism just something to be, joked at? It's not it's like in response to that, there was that one Fox commentator who said, well, you should shoot a Satanist, and I don't take that seriously. It's like, it's kind of,
We
it
covered
puts,
that.
Yeah, we did.
yeah. So, well, yeah, I didn't know that, but do, we can do these things in other ways that don't make a mockery of who we are. And I like you said, like the American Atheists, we're already on that, but there are other things, there are other ways that we can cause change in the real world, and it's up to the individual to do that. Individuals can go out there and accomplish those things. I mean, we have Satanists that have their causes that are out there working towards them. I mean, you have to ask, well, is being a public Satanist going to help that? Is that going to move that forward or not? I mean, we don't know. Maybe this is going to work out, but maybe it's not. Maybe they're just waiting for all the media attention to blow over, and and then it goes on. This is just so. I haven't heard any update on that. I don't know what the situation is with that, but we are. We'll see what happens there.
One of the other questions we had in the chat room is someone wanted to know where they sign up.
Go to
Deep within your heart.
You can sign up.
I'm sorry, say that again?
churchofsatan.com. You could sign up there. Yeah.
There's like a database.
I've actually there's a form that you fill out. You guys,
Yeah.
which
She printed out the form. It has to be notarized.
I did print out the form because I find it really super interesting. There's a couple different things. There's one form that you fill out where you basically state that you're interested, and you send them $200 cash, and then now you're part of the Church of Satan.
That's how you know it's a religion.
You can do that with me. If you are interested in being an atheist, you can just send me $200.
Right.
Yeah, I will send you nothing in return.
And there's a little kind of a one sheet, like a info sheet related to the sign up. And it says opening the floodgates to a revolution designed to smash the hypocrisy and unreason which has reigned for the past 2,000 years. We stand as a formidable threat to those who would halt progress in the name of spirituality. We're explorers on an untrodden path of science, human motivation, and mystery. We are explorers on the untrodden paths of science, human motivation, and mystery.
That was a lot of words. Really
That was a lot of words.
Well, that's why I said the last one again. I'll say it again. We are explorers on the untrodden paths of science, human motivation, and mystery.
Yeah, that's true.
Can you explain that a little bit to me?
Well, I mean, this is one of the things that differentiates Satanism from just base atheism. There is a sense of dramatic, a sense of the ceremonial, it's the spirit of Oscar Wilde, and
Oscar Wilde wasn't a scientist, I'm pretty sure.
Well, no, but there's a drama.
The drama
within that.
of it,
Yeah, the drama. So that's kind of, you're signing up for an organization. You want to be motivated in some way, but it's important to note that one doesn't have to join a Church of Satan. If you have a reason to join, if you have something you want to accomplish as a member of the Church of Satan, feel free, and those are the steps you take. But anyway, in regards to that statement, we do value science. So obviously, that is the baseline to our philosophy. But there is also the mystery, the things that we don't yet know, which we are interested in. It is a curiosity. We will look into it. We will study it. We have people who are interested in that and
finding things out on your own.
Finding things out and
not making up stories to explain the things you don't know.
Making the prophecy fit itself.
There is no some people are disappointed. They join the Church of Satan and think there's going to be some grand reveal that they're going to find out. Oh, yeah, you guys are some great magicians, and there's all this.
They're sorely disappointed.
I've spent time with the high priest of the Church of Saint Peter Gilmore and his wife Pagan Andromeda, and we go out to tiki conventions. We drink tiki drinks. And we watch like
Nice.
Dean Martin cover
Lots
bands.
of
you know.
rum.
That's
Yeah, lots of
exactly in my
rum.
mind what the
What the
stereotypical
Satanists do.
Satanist is doing is Dean Martin cover bands. That's,
Yeah, well, you know, it's about enjoying life, and you know, we'll watch you know kaiju movies together, you know, watch Godzilla, or we'll talk about comic books.
So
or
it's
whatever.
safe to say there's a lot of nerds.
A lot of
But that
nerds.
happens in atheism too.
Yeah.
I'm self-admitted nerd. I can't help it.
It's, uh,
You were talking about some people expect certain things. What is one major misconception about the Church of Satan that you would really like to clear up? Just one major misconception.
That we're all these sullen, serious, black-clad, corpse paint wearing kind of bores.
What color shirt are you wearing right now?
that's a good
it goes
question.
back-
No, that's a good question. I like.
What
Well,
color shirt are you
it's-
wearing right now?
It's that idea that, you know, the
He's
Satan.
dodging this question.
It's black.
He's naked.
Hey, if it
I am
gives
not
him pleasure.
naked, but well, I mean, not that black isn't a common color. Of,
Now we're getting to it.
It's black.
But the idea is that, you know, we're not all serious. Sense of humor is a big thing. Loving life is a big thing. You know, this is the one and only life we have. You know, everything that every second that we do, everything we do has in the back of our mind, knowing, well, we're here for a limited time. How is this benefiting me? How is this benefiting just maybe not just me, but those that I love too? You know,
Yeah.
and
Live with a
this is another
purpose
idea. There's
here.
another misconception is that, well, Satanists are just purely egotistical, purely self-centered.
No, that's
They're
me.
these sociopaths,
That's you a
right?
lot.
So
So-
they look at that and they have this short-term understanding of what ego gratification is, and there's more to that.
There's
Yeah.
a question that often gets leveled at atheists, which is, you know, if you die and you're wrong, and you end up at the
Pascal's
pearly
wager.
no, you end up at the pearly gates. What do you say to God? What I want to know is, if you're wrong and you die and you end up in hell, what do you say to Satan?
Sorry, dude.
What's up, bro?
Where are the drinks? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just that's a silly question, because then what do you
It
say to
is.
anybody from any religion throughout the world? You know, and like, well, what do you say? What if you know, what are your eye to eye with, you know, Odin? I mean,
Right?
That's
No,
funny.
we're totally on board with that.
Good point. Yeah, I
I
like
am a Viking.
Uh,
There's a reason my Reddit username is Viking Lady. I'm just saying.
so you believe in Odin and Thor?
What,
and
you
all
didn't
that?
know this?
No, I didn't.
You didn't see that?
Get out
no,
of my
you weren't
house.
there.
Well, we
I
have
have
some
like Thor
Satanists that,
shirts.
that do use Odin as a symbol. I mean, Satan is just the most easy symbol to use. I mean, it's just the most popular in Western culture, but you can replace Satan with Thor, with Loki, with whatever symbol
Tom
fits you. And
Hiddleston.
yeah, I actually know Satanists that they use Loki. They use Norse mythology
That's
as
pretty
their
cool.
symbolic metaphor.
Yeah, so
That's
in the AMA, you said that I believe a man's most natural instinctual state is best represented in the symbol of Satan. Can you explain that concept to me, like the symbol of Satan?
Like I said, well, the symbol of Satan is the adversary, the natural, the adversary, but also the carnal. You know, in all Abrahamic religions, you know, the devil, Satan, is the Lord of the earth, the Lord of the here and now, whereas God, whatever the divine, is the representation of the afterlife. So that's why we say that our natural impulses are instincts. So the whatever sins are meant to suppress instincts, which are these sins that are natural. I mean, that's why the churches in general have been very successful, because they repress natural instincts, and you're constantly feeling guilty for everything that you do.
Yeah, and it's
So you're
kind of
always
about
reaching out to them.
making sure you're living your life here on Earth rather than hoping for something
Right. So it's-
afterwards.
Right, exactly. So you know, the symbol of Satan has always been the here and now, the earth, the carnal, the flesh, and you know that to us is a natural symbol of our philosophy.
So again, from the chat room, Tech Leslie says that Satanism sounds like the libertarian branch of atheism. And you know, when I was
Satanist wasteland.
when I was reading through some of the material you sent to us ahead of time, I sometimes got impressions of Ayn Rand's objectivism and some strong libertarian ideas. Do you feel that that's in there? And can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ayn Rand was an influence on Anton LaVey, and it's very clear in the Satanic Bible. I mean, a lot of that is word for word Ayn Rand's
I
philosophy.
thought you were gonna say
And
Ayn Rand was a Satanist,
I
and I
did
was
too.
like, wow.
well,
Did Hitler?
there in some ways maybe, but there are definitely some ways in which the philosophies of objectivism and Satanism diverge. And in one sense, well, there's in objectivism in Ayn Rand's world, there is no room for altruism. There is no room for compassion for anything other than the self. Whereas
Right.
Satanism would say, well, that's irrational and also short-sighted.
Good.
You can be altruistic. You can, for example, like, you know, I love my wife. She's the most amazing person in my life, and making her happy makes me happy. It makes my home happy. So, you know, we'll go do things together. We'll compromise on things. We'll have a great time, knowing that, you know, it's not always about me.
You live like a
in the-
normal human being, a
yeah,
reasonable
well,
human
well,
being.
you would think, but and so there's beyond that, you know, there's also a sense of community. You know, a lot of Satanists are involved in their communities. They're involved in charities, and because they believe it's okay. Well, I'm helping my neighborhood. I'm making the world a safer place for myself. I mean, it is ego driven, but you know, you
Still makes
are
you
working
feel
with other
good,
people.
though.
Yeah, it makes you feel good, and there is a
Yeah.
place for that. So that is a divergence in objectivism. There's also, say, objectivism also believes in objective morals, that there are these set of morals that throughout time are objectively true, and Satanism says no, there are subjective morals. Any study in history or religion can see that, you know, morals change even within paradigms from, you know, throughout history. So there are divergences in that. But it was certainly an influence, and there are certain Satanists there are definitely plenty of Satanists that hold Ayn Rand in high regard, and some who identify as libertarian.
Well, that's a bit heavy. And now for something wacky.
Go ahead. Yeah, I like that.
Well, I don't know. So there is a document on the website of churchofsatan.com that describes pentagonal revisionism, a 5-point program. And it's basically saying, what do we do once we get beyond the idea that Satanism isn't like eating babies and all of that stuff, right?
Oh, I was hopeful
Right.
that it was like the story from last week where the cops would take the hookers and send them to God. I was hoping they were taking hookers and sending them to Satan.
Well, I mean, hey, I think
Awesome.
Sorry.
well, that actually fits right into what I was about to ask.
Damn it, Jay.
Because this is a 5-point program which talks about basically what's going to happen next. And one of them, which I like very much, is strict taxation of all churches.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep.
But that's not the one I was going to ask you about. The one I wanted to ask you about was number 4, development and production of artificial human companions, the forbidden industry.
I missed that
Can
one, but I'm
you
so into it.
Please tell me,
See.
are we going to have cyborg, like,
Robot
bedmates or
robot
what?
butlers.
Didn't Buffy
Yeah,
the
I mean,
Vampire
that-
Slayer do this first with the Buffy bot? I think so. I'm just saying.
Yes,
I like
the
Justin.
forbidden industry. Yeah, LaVey was very interested in that. He had in his the basement of his home, he had what he called the den of iniquity, and he had
I have one of those.
Everyone needs one of those.
yeah,
I carry that
well,
around
it's-
with me in
it's
my car.
the original man cave. Yeah, he had these mannequins that he in great detail set up a scenario in a bar, like a bar scenario, where they all had their own personalities, and he would go down and he'd spend time with these people.
Oh, so they were
that he-
like the real dolls, the
like
real
real
girl
dolls.
dolls.
Yeah, and we have Satanists that are
Oh.
interested in the development of things like real dolls. Yeah, and so we believe that there is a place for that. It's a
I would agree with that.
way.
Jay
yeah, it's-
looks creeped out.
I'm creeped the fuck out.
Jay looks creeped out, but I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of what we would consider the total environment. You know, we want to, as Satanists, we believe that we should have the ability to create an environment that fits our
But the
Personal
environment in your
pleasures, yeah.
basement of a room full of fake people, that creeps me out.
Well, okay, that's a little weird.
You know
but
what? And it's fine if it creeps you out, and I feel like it's fine if people want to do that. But what I don't understand is like, why put it in the dogma specifically? I mean, because
Come on,
there's
I can
already,
answer this question.
because number 5 is the opportunity for anyone to live within a total environment of his
Right.
or her choice.
Yeah.
So it seems like it could just get folded neatly right into
No,
that,
no,
and people can
no.
just come up with
Let
that on
me-
their very own.
I get it. I totally get it. So
Why do you get it?
Kensai871 in the chat room says he wants a Buffy bot, and I would totally be down with that. I think it deserves its own thing.
I like how he was the one that caught the
Yeah, right.
thing.
Well,
so
think of
so
it like
thank
this.
you, thank you, Felipe. I appreciate that.
I mean, there are certain taboo indulgences that one can have that obviously would not be conducive to living a free life.
penguins?
What's that?
Like
Sorry,
penguins.
it's an
Like
inside
penguins.
inside joke for the show.
Sorry.
Well,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
maybe like you like. So, this is a way of living that out, of getting that out of you, in a way that's both healthy and not getting you in any kind of trouble. And it's done in the privacy of your own home.
You're not
So,
hurting anybody.
That
Yeah,
makes sense.
I mean, look at furry culture. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but
Let's
there's
not.
I'd rather
Maybe
not.
Maybe
just
don't.
the
Yeah.
thing that weirds me out
I've
is
been on the
that
internet enough. I've seen some stuff, man.
of all the like dogmatic stuff that I've read about the Church of Satan, this is the one thing that is like
So
specifically
specific. Yeah.
prescribes like a thing. Right,
And
and,
if
I
that's-
believe,
yeah.
I mean, this was like what 1968 or whatever, that
66.
66 that this was happening, and you know the idea of artificial intelligence and all that stuff is like way crazier, but so maybe it was like a bigger deal back then when he was writing
yeah. I mean,
this.
that particular program was put together in 1988, but that the idea, whatever the idea is, it's that we're applying a satanic philosophy towards these goals. You know, the stratification, the strict church, taxation of the churches, things like that, and it's kind of a way to say, well, as the Church of Satan is organized, these are our goals. Now, that's one of the things people say, like, why the Church of Satan? What is the Church of Satan doing? And these are things that we are interested in achieving, in dedicating time and resources towards having our members research. So one can be a Satanist and not be interested in this stuff at all. You know, can be a Satanist and not join the Church of Satan at all, and say, like, well, I'm not interested in that. So what? Yeah.
I want to point out that our chat room is very excited about the furry stuff, so
Okay.
it's a little.
Damn it.
I know those people. I swear to God, they're the worst people ever.
You guys are weird.
I did that on purpose.
So
No.
look at he knows atheists so well.
I know the internet buttons.
Right.
Yeah.
He used a little bit of greater magic on that. I
Right.
think.
Yes, he made you all into furries.
Space
Anyway,
dicks.
so let's not go there. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the 5th satanic rule of the earth, and that was do not make sexual advances unless you are given the mating signal, which I think is amazingly great because it's something that is part of something anyway that is shockingly missing from Abrahamic religions.
No, I just want to jump in here real quick, just to clarify, and this is something I did read a little bit about with the mating signal.
Oh,
which
of course
is,
you did.
Which is,
Of
fuck you.
course.
No, apparently that's, you know, the typical signs that most people can pick up on: flushing face, dilated eyes,
Sure.
things like that. People, when you can tell
The
someone
body
is-
language.
Right, the
I'm
body
so
language.
bad at picking those things up.
I'm colorblind. I'm
yeah,
handicapped.
I can't do it.
Oh, come on.
I'm fucking
So there
serious.
is-
I'm just awkward.
All right, nerd.
Anyway, go ahead. And
But no, that was exactly where I was going with this. Is that I'm awful at picking up signals, and if there's a mating signal, I wanted to know what it was.
Yeah. You have to
Well, there you
establish
go.
it
Yeah,
ahead of
that
time
is-
just so it's like known.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the Satanic Bible isn't a dating guide, and none of this stuff
Oh,
is.
man.
It's kind of it
All right,
is-
this interview's over. This is the only reason we had you on.
Look, what I want to know
Well,
is
you
if
know
I'm
what?
a
There is a-
Satanist, it's going to get me laid. Is it going to get me
There is a
laid?
book called the Satanic Witch, but that's a dating guide for the women. It's
Ah,
actually
okay.
it is a book
Well,
on,
Luz could use that.
it's a book for the Satanic Witch on how to control men, and it's how to use
Love
the
spells.
allure, aesthetics, and sense of smell, cooking, things like that, in order to gain control of men. So it's one of the things that actually came up during that Reddit AMA, where it said, oh, well, this is just sexist, and you're just looking for like ways to take advantage of women, you know,
yeah.
with that statement there. And it's like, well, actually, LaVey was a lot more interested in the opposite. He was a lot more interested in women controlling
advantage
men.
of
He saw
men.
how feeble men's impulses are, and you know, that's how he wrote a whole book on how
Well,
to.
and I, what I was really impressed with, and this isn't really a question, it's more of a statement. I was really impressed, and I remember even when I was reading this as a teenager, that the Satanic Bible actually has things about respect for women, and
Yeah.
you know, where you look at the Bible and you have prescriptions for how to rape women and the
Yeah.
proper way to do that.
And how women
Right.
shouldn't teach anybody. And
Right.
just sexism is bad. Aww. Hate you.
Yeah, women play a very important role in Satanism. I mean, after LaVey passed, his the high priest was his his wife Blanche Barton, and she's still involved in the Church of Satan, and she actually writes on satanic feminism as a topic that interests her. So it's a very important part of the philosophy.
Children. I don't know what I have to like pull this show over
We
the
are
side of the
entertaining
road.
the chat room visually. Okay.
What is going on in there?
I don't want to know.
He's across the country and he's all like, what are y'all
What is wrong with you
doing?
people?
No.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's bring it back, people.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Are there any holidays that the Church of Satan observes?
Yeah, like today, the spring
Sweet.
equinox.
Happy
Yeah.
spring equinox, everybody.
And isn't it like the International Day of Happiness too? Like
Yeah,
Happiness
that makes
Day or
absolute sense. And for me, tomorrow is my birthday, so
Oh,
Happy
yay.
birthday.
I hate birthdays.
It's your real life cake day.
well, you are your own god, so your birthday is the most important day of the year, and so that is it's the highest. We say your own birthday is the highest holiday. in
I'm
the
screwed.
satanic
I hate
calendar.
birthdays. Even
You
my
just,
own.
yeah, you
You
just
could
hate
just pick another
holidays.
day, like the first day you got laid, or
He's like, that was so long ago, I don't even
Yeah.
remember it.
or maybe not worth celebrating.
Yeah, that would be more like it.
Well, okay, so I'm back to this whole how do you become a Satanist thing, right? It's fascinating to me because it's like, okay, you don't have to do anything to become a Satanist. You can just be a self-described,
Self-serving.
I don't know how you say that, but yeah.
Self-appointed.
Self-identified.
Self-identified, right? And then, you know, they recommend that if you are going to be speaking on behalf of the church, that you have a more official type affiliation, right?
Yeah.
And then, so the first level is doing the thing that I told you before. You fill out the form, you send $200. And then if you want to get even further involved, you can do so by filling out another form. And I don't think you send any more money, but
So much
then you
paperwork.
fill
No more
out
money.
a
No more money.
questionnaire.
No.
Jeez.
Bro, you
Church,
fill out a questionnaire with
Church of Satan
40
is so
questions.
bureaucratic. There's so much bureaucracy here.
Well, you know,
Listen
we
to
get
me.
some weirdos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
There's 40 questions, right?
Yeah.
What are your impressions of the Satanic Bible? What is your life's goal? What is your attitude toward animals? Tell us about your pets. Are you satisfied with your sex life? What's your ideal physically attractive sex partner? Do you feel oppressed or persecuted in any way? Have you possessed or used illegal drugs?
you
or
reading
been
all
convicted
40?
of a crime?
Oh, I
no,
hope not.
but you know what
So
this
this is pretty
sounds
much just
to
a-
me like is this one of those when you go and get accosted by the Scientologists and they put those little
was gonna
things
say
on your
that.
fingertips and tell you
Oh, I
that
didn't
you've
see that. I didn't
been
get that.
I haven't
Oh.
gotten accosted by
No,
any
it's more like
Scientologists in my life.
I love animals. I love to kill them, and then you immediately see like a red alert there, and you
Yeah.
notify
Not-
local authorities.
Not the
It's-
kind of Satanist you want.
So
No,
these
no.
are more like
Screening.
screening because we don't
yeah.
want creeps, not like we want. I mean, because
You want
No,
to
we
be
want to know all
serious
about
about
you.
them.
if I was
Yeah.
like if you if the church had like malicious intent, right? And I was like totally naive and I wrote you all about my wishes and hopes and dreams and weaknesses and my history of sexual abuse or whatever.
And you were
I
deemed a
could
perfect
be
candidate?
super vulnerable to lots of manipulation.
Sure, and if you're not comfortable with that, you don't need to fill that out.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
what if
and
I'm
that's-
14?
and that's what-
That also
So-
kind of goes hand in hand with, I mean, you sort of have to be a little more self-assured if you're going to
Right.
go for something like that. You have to
Right,
be a little
yeah.
more self-confident with it.
Yeah, and it's to me it's more of the screening process. We have people who write to the Church of Satan who say some crazy things, and there have been some news stories out there where a person writes to there was a kid who wrote to the church saying how he had plans to kill his parents, and we have contacts with the FBI authorities, and we called them up. Well,
Awesome.
Church of Satan called up the local authorities and had him arrested. And
Because
said,
technically, members of the clergy, and if you're, someone in the Church of
No.
Satan, members of the clergy have a legal obligation in order to
true.
report stuff like that.
Are you
That is
considered
completely legal.
Are you considered a member of the clergy?
to report it or to not
No.
report
To
it?
report, yeah. They
You're
have a
not-
legal obligation to.
So you're not considered a member of clergy.
well, I mean, it's the priest. The title of priest or reverend, it's interchangeable. It is a honorary title. There's no clergy there. I don't get a salary. Or there, I
Sure.
actually did this all on my own. I wasn't told to do this or
No,
anything.
yeah, I get that.
Right. So I guess we can. There's a organization called the Priesthood of Mendes, and that is the organization that of the priests of the Church of Satan, and the role is, if you so feel it necessary, if you want to do this, you can go represent the Church of Satan in interviews or in art and whatever your productive output is, and it's a way of recognizing, for another Satanist to recognize you and say, okay, this person gets it. This person, is applying Satanism. To another, ordinary person in the street, it doesn't mean a damn thing to them, and it really shouldn't. So that's where I go from there. So, but about that questionnaire, yeah, I mean, it's a screening process. It's something that, I could understand, the fear of that, being vulnerable to those kind of things, but so don't fill those things out, the kind of things that you want to, that's the application for active membership. It's saying that I want to take a more active role
Only give
in
as much-
representing Satanism.
Did you
So
do that?
Yeah, I did. I mean,
Many
I
years
don't remember.
ago.
Yeah, many years ago, and it
Many
was very
moons.
straightforward. And I think at the time, actually, I had a friend who was in the Church of Satan who used it as a sponsor, and so I really kind of just quickly filled it out, and I worked through that. And it's because I've been working with Satanists for a long time, so I already was very familiar with the organization and the people I knew. These sane people, these are not the kind of people that are going to stalk me or going to take advantage of my weaknesses. I mean, honestly, the administration gets applications every day, and there's actually this funny meme out there for like rejection from the Church of Satan. It's like there's this rejection letter with the return. I mean, you want to send us
need to see
$200,
this. I need
sure,
to
but like
find
if
this.
you're wacky, we're gonna return your check.
Here's your money back.
that's
You get a
good.
full
Yeah.
refund,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, absolutely, you're not worth it.
So before we let you go, if someone is interested in learning more about the Church of Satan, which I think probably a lot of people should do, even if you're not interested in being a Satanist.
Just to find out about it.
My dad called me this afternoon and he's like, "What's up?" And I said, "Oh, we're having a priest from the Church of Satan on," and he's like, "Oh, that's horrible."
Yeah, I told that to a coworker, and she was like, "Really?" And I'm all like,
Right.
"No." I kind of explained it to her.
Right. So I think that even if you're not interested in being a Satanist, you should probably educate yourself. Well, although you've gotten an education over the last hour, but
And the AMA was a really good place to
Oh,
get
yeah.
some information.
But where can people go to learn more about the Church of Satan?
Yeah, they can go to thechurchofsatan.com. All the basic texts are there, and there's also links to other affiliate websites. I do a website called Radio Free Satan. It's radiofreesatan.com, and that's actually a podcast network of various Satanists, and we play whatever music appeals to us. We have metal shows, rock shows,
That's linked to on your
classical
Twitter
music.
too, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's the Radio Free Satan Twitter account.
It was
and-
actually suggested to me since I started following you on Twitter. It was suggested to me.
Yeah,
I was
no,
all,
the
oh,
Radio Free
okay.
Satan,
Yeah.
and like there's also a 9 Cents podcast. You look, that's the number 9 Cents. That's hosted by Reverend Adam Campbell, and that's an excellent podcast where he talks about Satanism and how it applies to current events. He picks certain articles and he expands on it, and he gets other Satanists, interviews them. You could find him, on 9 Cents. You could Google search it to get his website.
Is that sense with a C or an S?
S.
Okay.
SCNSE.
Yes. Yep. 9
SCENTS.
cents.
Okay, to
None of the
clarify,
things you
please.
smell.
YouTube channel is great, and search that on YouTube. He's got a great YouTube channel, and you can get interviews and such there. That's very helpful.
Great.
Excellent.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and it was a pleasure. Luz has the last word.
Uh-oh.
Well, no. I just wanted to make sure that you felt like you said everything that you wanted to let everybody know.
Yeah,
Before we let
I
you go.
had a great time.
Yeah.
You guys have been great. I've said everything I said I need to
Awesome.
say, and they were good.
I apologize for all the snickering and
No.
juvenile behavior.
We're
guys.
disgustingly
It's
immature.
not
You
you,
know
it's
what?
us.
That's what we all need. We all
That's-
need to have a sense. And that was
Little bit of fun.
the Reddit AMA was all about. I wanted to have fun with that, and I did have fun with that. And,
Good.
I had some, some trolls in there, but that's fine. You just never
Yeah, but
mind
it's
them.
Reddit,
Yeah.
and you're always gonna have that.
Yeah, but I had
That's
a good time.
inevitable.
Well,
I
thank
had
you
a
very
good time
sincerely
tonight.
for being here with us, talking
Yes,
to us
thank
about
you.
it, and making our lives a little better and a little educating us a little more. And
Broadened our horizons a bit.
absolutely.
Glad I made you guys laugh too. All right.
Bye.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you, Raul.
Thank you.
Okay, so real quick, thank you for listening to Atheist Airwaves. Atheist Airwaves and Corpus Christi Atheist is a humanist organization. I can never get this right, guys.
No.
Humanist beliefs stress the potential value and goodness of human beings, emphasize common human needs, and seek rational ways of solving human problems. We stand for the equal treatment of all people. This includes combating social injustices such as misogyny, racism, homo, and hobo, both hobo.
It's so
That's a new one.
No, I did that intentionally this time because I've got to come up with something every time.
I gotta say, it's amazing watching you do that every week.
Is it
We're
fun?
not even gonna change
Is it fun for
It
you?
is
You
for
kind
me.
of trip over it every single time.
How-
You've said it how many times now?
All right, so there's one thing that we cannot end this episode without talking about.
Fuck Fred Phelps.
Yes, that is the death of Fred Phelps, which happened this morning.
Good riddance.
Yeah,
I saw the news on Twitter before anything else.
I saw
Somebody
it.
just
I was gonna say,
tweeted, "Hey,
I heard from Susan.
Yeah, so did I.
yay!
You informed me as well.
I broke the news." I feel so cool.
I have mixed feelings about my reaction to this, and I've seen a lot of things over the last couple of days because he was, lingering.
Terrible.
Yeah, he was worse of a human being than any of us are.
But I mean, I've seen
Hope so.
atheists post things about not being happy that he's dead and not being happy that anyone's dead. How does anyone feel about that?
You know what? I have a lot of opinions about that.
Oh, good. Please share.
Well, okay. I mean, this is like, like in ecology, they talk about the law of cascading effects, right? And so you look at it from an individual level, a group level, a community level, and on out onto an ecosystem level, right? And Fred Phelps was a fucking cancer on society, right? And society is better off with him not in it.
Yes.
Except that
We learned.
he may have acted as a vehicle for the expression of certain ideas and an embracement of tolerance that may not have happened otherwise. Like the Aggies who made the human chain to protect the family. I mean, that would
They
not
did
have
that at
happened.
Matthew Shepard's
Although-
funeral as
Right,
well.
you know?
I gotta say though, I'm going to disagree with myself ahead of time. I think it's a little different about the human walls at funerals and trying to give
The Patriot Guard.
the Patriot Guard and people trying to give privacy to grieving families. But I think that we did a bad thing by wherever they went trying to show up and counter protest because
Yeah.
it just
Fueled
Gave
fire.
legitimacy
So
to
are we talking
their...
about his life and the shit he did, or are we talking about
his death.
His death, and
Well-
I think that his death is absolutely a wonderful thing. Yes, I think some people should not be alive anymore after
Yeah.
they've done certain things, and I think this is one of those people. Now, what I got out of what you said, Luz, is that sometimes there's something so extreme on the negative end of things that it actually causes or teaches us how to not be that bad and to actually get something positive out of it.
Yeah, and I saw that
Perhaps
point
that's
brought
the
up.
case.
I mean, right. So he performed a function in society that no one was performing that may have been beneficial in the long run, right?
Perhaps.
For some people on some levels.
Even if you didn't mean to.
Well, right.
Yeah.
He
but
lived.
he was a fucking bastard, and I'm glad he's dead.
No, yeah, absolutely. I totally
I'm
agree.
sorry for his family that left him, and
I'm not.
Well, but I mean, you've also got to remember this man taught so many people so much hate that it's not like everything is going to stop just because he's dead.
That's
This is
exactly
all
right.
going to continue regardless because of his
His
piece
legacy.
of shit
He has
family.
he has a legacy, and it's going to move on. In fact, I haven't heard Fred Phelps talk much lately. It's mostly his stupid kids.
Yeah, like Shirley,
Oh,
I think. But there's one of his sons that was like, nope,
Nate.
don't want anything to do with that anymore.
Tech Leslie in the chat room mentions that she doesn't understand the moral dilemma of being happy that someone is dead. And I kind of fall through that because it doesn't hurt anybody. I mean, maybe the family, but the family is so morally corrupt that I don't even care if they're upset.
Yeah.
That I'm happy their father
I'm
is
happy
dead.
they're suffering, sort of thing.
I'm not happy about the death, but I think it's
beneficial
it's
to the
definitely
world.
beneficial, Yes.
Yeah.
But to Susan's point, I don't think it was that that beneficial because his legacy lives on, and
It's gonna continue.
He's taught so many
Yeah.
people to do this stuff, and they're going to keep doing it.
And we get so many cases of not just the Westboro people. We get so many cases of other people, other churches that are saying just horrible things. Like there was one thing we were going to try and talk about of a Wisconsin couple convicted of biblical parenting that were whipping their children with dowels, like as young as a 6-month-old.
Right.
Because the church was teaching them that. They're just teaching them these horrible things.
Well,
and
so, I mean, all right, I think what could possibly be like the moral dilemma here is it's that slippery slope argument. Like, if we're glad that Fred Phelps is dead because of being like an evil bastard or whatever, then do we wish for the deaths of all of those people that we think are not doing the right thing, like the family that you just mentioned? And then at what point is it okay or not okay
I
to
think
wish that a crappy person is dead or not?
So I'm just saying that I don't have mind powers, and that's why I don't think it matters if I hope someone's dead.
Yeah.
That's because
And
you're
it's
not
not so
practicing
much-
Satanism yet.
And it's not so
Hoping-
much
right,
wishing.
exactly. I
It's
don't-
not like I'm sitting here going, "Oh man, I really, really wish they should die." It's
You
just
you can wish all day long.
It's
has
not gonna do any
no-
good.
It has
Yeah.
no effect whatsoever.
It has effect on your own life.
yeah,
Sure.
it's sort of the intent of it and just being so consumed by sort of the
Sure. So
hatred of
if-
it. But you can sort of take the joy in the fact that he himself is not doing this to the world anymore.
Tech Leslie is my favorite person in the chat room today. She says she doesn't mind slipping down that slope. So.
This is why we're friends.
Right. Speaking, well,
I was going to move on to another story that I think we have to cover before we leave,
Yes.
and that is the NASCAR lady.
Oh yes, this
Can we talk
wonderful
about
NASCAR
this? I
woman.
think this story was made for this show.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay.
So like, how was last Sunday for all of you guys?
It wasn't too bad. What did I do last
I
Sunday?
remember last Sunday.
I think I slept
spent
in,
all
went to the
days-
meetup.
I spent all day sleeping with Jay.
Oh, you woke up on the beach. You did. Y'all
That's
probably woke up in a
hysterical.
wonderful lover's embrace. I love it.
He woke up. He woke up in the back of my truck with me.
Oh.
This is not fiction.
I'm not kidding. That is like the best sleep I've ever had. Sleeping on the beach
Me
with
too,
the
baby.
wind and
Like a little cold, but not terribly.
Well, I had like.
that's
anyway.
like the clammiest, stickiest cuddle puddle I can think of.
There was no any.
No, there was no
cuddling.
cuddling.
We were so
That
gone.
is-
It was
that
anyway.
is just
so
wonderful.
let me tell you about Stephanie Faye Hammond's Sunday. It was really interesting. And it's bad news when the news outlets are giving out your middle name, like if you're
when on the
Lee
when you
Harvey Oswald or Stephanie Faye Hammond.
and when you follow the link to the story from something Times that was from Churchill, where they were from, it gives her address.
I know.
I
was
just
like,
want to say
They
that
just outed this woman.
Yeah.
Damn.
it gives her.
if they really want to find where this woman
Right.
lives,
It's her address. Well, she's in jail, but her address and her
Apartment
number.
Yeah.
So tell us what
Let me
happened.
say what happened.
Please.
Okay. So
Thank you, Luz.
now, in fairness to poor Stephanie, she says she smokes a lot of weed.
a lot
A lot.
of weed.
Yeah, because pot totally makes you do crazy, crazy things.
It makes
right?
me eat a lot.
It makes me
Like
puke
crazy
a lot.
amounts.
Yeah.
Okay. So all that aside,
Tangent.
Stephanie said that on Sunday, God told her to go to the kitchen. She was in her apartment, which we have the address if you want it. Grab a knife and go to church. And the church was right across the street from her apartment building, which is very convenient. When she got there, she decided to enjoy the drive-through service that her church has. And she drove her Toyota.
It was new.
Right. Actually, she created the drive-through lane. She took her Toyota Celica and rammed it through the front doors of the church. So once she's
Are you
inside-
mourning the Celica?
Yes.
I do like silicas.
It's still running.
Oh,
She
okay.
drove it away.
Is it?
Oh yeah, she drove it away.
Oh
because-
yeah, she did. Yeah.
The police had to go inspect it. Anyway, all of that would be an interesting day all by itself.
However,
However, it gets better. So she gets out of the car, which is now in the church.
Of course.
She goes down to the altar and lies down with her knife, and calls her husband.
and says, "I've been in a wreck."
Can you come to the church and help me out? And poor Stephen Hammond comes to the church.
He gets up from watching his NASCAR race.
Right.
now was there anybody in the church? There wasn't.
No,
was there?
No,
because it was
empty.
it was like the afternoon where the services were done and everything.
Right. So he comes down to the altar, sees her there, and checks to see if she's okay. She sits up and says, "The devil is in me," and stabs him in the chest.
She tried to stab him through the heart, but apparently she
Missed.
missed. She missed just enough that he's.
The knife got stuck in his chest, though. I mean, he had to remove it himself.
Why would he remove it himself?
Because
He's dumb.
Yeah.
Because this is Tennessee.
Right.
You think Texas is bad? I'm just saying there's worse things.
Oklahoma, Tennessee, Kentucky,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania,
Pennsyltucky.
Pennsyltucky.
Virginia, West Virginia.
So the reason
You guys are just hating on some states.
Hey, we live in Texas. Come on.
the reason she says she stabbed him was that he was worshiping NASCAR.
Yeah.
So
He was
obviously,
worshiping the race at Bristol.
Have you seen those NASCAR guys though? I mean, seriously.
I
Like,
have seen
people
them.
who are like super duper into NASCAR.
Yeah.
No,
It's like
you stabbed them.
stab worthy.
Well,
I
they got a
wouldn't
little
actually
weird.
stab them, but I would definitely think like I'd play the scenario out in
Yeah.
my head.
No, of course I don't think that
Stab
they're
them with your
stab worthy,
mind.
but I mean there are people who follow NASCAR and people who follow football and all kinds of stupid shit, just as if it were a religion.
So
right?
No,
obsessive.
yeah. That's why
Yeah.
I'm so glad I don't live in Arkansas anymore because their friggin' Razorback fans are ravenous. Anyway, sorry.
I really
totally aside.
love what she said though.
There's so much gold in
her
her
statement
statements.
to the police. I smoke a bunch of weed. I love to smoke it. Sometimes when I do, I start seeing things that others don't. Isn't God good? He told me that this would happen. And just look, I'm okay.
Husband has a knife in his chest, and the car is messed up.
But she's okay.
Right.
That's
It totally
what's
works
important.
out.
Isn't that part that what is it? Cat Williams calls "fuck it all"?
Isn't
Isn't that what he calls it? I don't know. Maybe I'm mixing things up here. The chat room, I'm sure, will correct me.
Probably.
It gets better than that, though, because what she told the chief of police said she told him that God had told her that smoking marijuana all day and all night was not good for her.
So she had to smoke it at night.
Right, only smoke it at night
Only
to
at
help you
night.
relax is what God told this crazy person.
I really wonder if she was actually a productive member of society, though. Like if she had like a job or anything.
Well, she had a husband.
Well, she was smoking.
She had a husband. If she was smoking
she's
that
smoking
much
weed all day.
Yeah.
And all night. She
the
was
money
probably
had to
not
come
too
from
much.
either the money had to come from somewhere or
She worked at
she
McDonald's.
just chances are.
No. But it's also weird that she couldn't make up her mind whether God told her to stab her
Or
husband or Satan. 'Cause she's-
It's a theme this week. I
right?
like it.
Right?
Satanpalooza.
So she alternately said that the devil told her to take the kitchen knife with her, and I love she said, quote, "I prayed I would not have to use it on him, but I did."
But I did. That's how I imagine her saying
Right?
it.
Yeah,
Is,
it's
but I
Tennessee.
did.
You know, okay, so this sounds to me like mental illness. Luz, did you read the story about the thing?
Right, yeah. So mental illness and God generally seem to go hand in hand. There was let's see if I can find it. There was a woman who was diagnosed as a mental illness because she couldn't stop praying. Or she would
I love
not
this
stop
story.
praying.
Couldn't stop praying.
Right, and now I'm all Satanized. I can't remember
You're
this.
Satanized.
I can't remember this story like
So,
super duper well, but basically,
She was a woman in Cleveland, and she was on a biblical fast. So she was in day 15 of eating no food, only drinking water. She was suffering from water intoxication, and her electrolytes were all screwed up, and she was malnourished. And she was at a gas station and was completely out of her freaking skull.
Right.
And so people called for help.
right, she's totally went manic.
Right. And so, she took her to the emergency room where they said, this woman is crazy, and involuntarily committed her to the
For like
psychiatric ward.
5 days,
Right.
Right.
Where she was praying and doing her Bible thing and insisting she's fine, and the doctor's like, no, you're really not.
You're not. We promise you're not. I always really wonder what a person hopes to achieve with this. It's like, are you trying to die so you can get closer to God? Or are you trying to prove it to everybody else? Because from what I remember, wasn't that one of the things that Jesus said was, hey, don't be all out there with how much you love me and shit. It's like, seriously.
You're totally channeling me there.
But she's like halfway.
We hang out with each other too much.
She's about halfway to where you can actually go without dying. I mean, she's halfway to
Yeah,
death.
she's
Right.
getting close to. I mean, obviously she
Yeah.
was not healthy because of
Right.
the crap she was doing.
Right.
if you start hallucinating
Basically, she's suing because she's saying that my devotion to God is not a mental illness; it's a devotion to God. So get off me.
But why?
Right?
Why?
But the point is exactly what the question that you're asking here. It's like a chicken or the egg thing. Like, where in your extreme like knowledge of the Bible or your relationship with your church, are you told that you need to almost kill yourself through fasting and indulge, or experience these like crazy manic episodes, in order to have a relationship with God, right? I mean, is it crazy to think that you can do this stuff and
Yes.
be
It
regular?
is. However, if you're only endangering yourself, have at it.
Sure, I guess.
Well, except
I
that
don't know.
the hospital has a duty to take care of people who pose a danger to themselves.
Yeah.
So while I agree with you that I'm not going to, if someone is doing something stupid that causes their death, I'm not going to be that upset about it. If I'm a medical professional, I have a duty to say, you are freaking halfway to crazy.
Yeah, you take your oath and everything.
Yeah.
You've got to.
I understand the Hippocratic Oath. It's one of the few things I've actually ever read in my life. So,
Not
I
the
get
Satanic
that.
Bible.
I just want to point out that Christian said duty like 4 times.
I know.
Duty.
It came to my mind too. We think so much alike here, guys.
Well, yeah, so I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. If you're fucking nuts and you're endangering yourself or other people and you're doing it in public where somebody's going to see you, you're going to get, possibly hospitalized.
Yeah, and that is potentially putting someone else in danger.
Although
That's-
I've known religious people where you could not tell the difference between whether they're just really into God or totally flipping crazy.
Okay,
And
so
I
that's
just
a
love
really
how there's
good point.
such an association, though, is there's this really deep association between mental illness and religion, and I think that's for a reason.
Well, no, this is a really good time to at least touch on our intro story with Mr. Alex Jones. Obviously, this dude is batshit insane.
Fruit, bat, crackers, nuts.
Do you think that? Do you think he's crazy, or
Yes.
or do you think?
Or do you think
that,
it's an act?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like because he
That's
gets.
a good question.
Are you guys familiar
Doing
with
it on
Alex
purpose.
Jones at all?
Oh
I'm
yeah.
unfortunately extremely familiar with him because I back in my days of conspiracy theory, serious
last-
hardcore.
Oh, yeah.
Last
I was-
July.
Right. So, okay.
Further back
Actually,
than
not
that.
gonna
Further
actually
back
not
than
gonna
that.
lie. I'm not terribly familiar with him.
Okay, well, he's paranoid delusional, right?
fucking nutbag.
Who, unfortunately, and this is where we get in trouble, the dude has some, half-ass,
A
Following.
YouTube channel?
Oh, he has a huge following, but he's got, some fucking almost good points,
Oh,
It's the thing.
no.
That's,
Occasionally.
I
Occasionally.
mean, I'm sorry, Prison Planet,
No, occasionally he does. There are some things I still kind of agree with the idea, but not when it comes out of his friggin' mouth.
okay,
If anybody else
the,
said
the YouTube clip that we played just a part of is actually a guy with an atheist show,
Yeah,
right?
No,
something like
No,
that.
this
He
is
has
no,
some
just
it
show.
was-
off. This
that
is
was Young Turks, is the host. It has nothing to do with the actual clip. He was just
No, that's
Well,
what she's
no,
saying.
he played the clip and
Yeah,
then
he was
made
he
some
was
comments
introducing
after
it.
right.
right?
Yeah.
I think he happens to be an atheist, but it was not an atheist show.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, he was just like, what the fuck, Alex Jones? And he made a really good point, was like, look, dude, I'm in the business of making like YouTube videos and having shows and whatnot. Sometimes you just got some time to fill. And sometimes if you don't have anything, you just let yourself roll out with whatever pops into your brain.
That happens
And
with
I've
us.
seen Alex Jones get, insane like this, get totally manic like this before, not about God, but about, the military industrial complex or prison
Sure,
planet
sure.
or whatever, this other stuff. And he's just really super excited about
Intense.
life.
He's very passionate about whatever he talks about.
Right.
I just wonder, is that something we should do? Like, if we run out of things to talk about, should we just start freaking out about interstellar travel and
out.
Satan get behind me?
I could do it.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
We can try.
All right,
and
no,
if-
wait. Okay, challenge accepted.
Well, we should start selling stickers that with like our website on it, because I drive around this city and I see several of those every month. The
I do
Infowars.com
too.
sticker.
Really?
I see them all the time.
And I'm just like, I can't believe.
And
there
now
are that
I'm gonna
many.
see tons of
You're
them.
going
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, now it's
It's
that
scary
you've
because
mentioned it.
I used to pay attention to this crap. I used to pay attention to him, and I knew half of it was crazy. But now it's just like, this dude is just a total friggin' nutbag as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
It's true.
I mean, I agree. I agree. He does bring up some good points on occasion, but that is so few and far between, his absolute craziness, that I can't pay attention to.
Well, I guess Christianity brings up some good points on occasion as well.
Yeah.
And Satanism, guys, honestly, like, if it wasn't so stupid,
If not for the fact that I had to give them $200, then I might do it.
Red
No, I agree with you there
flag.
too.
Wait. Let me disagree with both of you guys. First of all,
All three, I think. Then.
I think that where I find Satanism getting stupid is the objectivism and the libertarian bent of it. And I also think it gets, I didn't get a chance to talk to Raul about this, but there's like this really weird vibe about really defensive, like, tribalism. I'm going to kick your ass if you come on my land.
Me.
That was something I was going to ask him too, but didn't
I
get to.
didn't get to
I'm
that.
actually fine with that.
Really? Mm-hmm. I'm not coming to your house.
Well, I would never kick your ass. I mean, that's the thing.
I totally disagree. You
You say.
I didn't say I couldn't.
Oh.
I said I wouldn't.
But I also think that this is something that happens in the atheist community a lot. Like the president of Utah, the atheists of Utah,
President of Utah. Nice.
the president of the atheists of Utah recently became a lifetime member of American Atheists, and he put it on Facebook, and there were a bunch of atheists in that thread who were saying, this is just, you're falling for the same religious crap, you're giving them money and you shouldn't give them money. And I think that the objection to the $200 thing is,
No, I don't have such a huge issue with that.
I just don't have an extra $200 to
Right.
give them.
Right.
That's my issue.
No,
They can
why-
work with me on a payment
Why
plan,
is
then
it
I'm good.
okay that you pay them $200 just because you? I mean, right? You pay them $200 if you want to because
you
want
believe
to.
in
Their
you believe in it.
expenses.
But that's only if you want to officially join the church. You
Right.
can still call
Yeah, they-
yourself
Right, you
a
can-
Satanist.
You can be an atheist
I'm
without
not
being
asking for tidings.
Yeah.
without being a member of American Atheists. You can still be an atheist. You can still be a Satanist without becoming a member of the Church of Satan. I am personally a member of American Atheists because
Rich bastard.
I believe $35.
He has a job.
35 a year,
Is what
right?
you're saying.
$35 a year. Go to atheist.org. I encourage people to do it because I don't do it because I feel like it's tithing. I do it because I like the work that they do. They do outreach to atheists. They do legal work against things like the cross
And supporting funding that, scholarships.
scholarships,
Stuff
all
like
kinds
that.
of good stuff, and that's what I'm supporting.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know what kind of salary these guys are making.
A lot.
Who work
$140,000 is what Dave Silverman makes.
What about
looked
the
it up.
Satanist guys?
I didn't look it up because the people in the Atheists of Utah thread that was their big objection is this guy's making $140,000 a year and you're giving him this kind of money. And I don't think that's a whole lot of money to make as the head of a major nonprofit. I just
Yeah.
don't. It
When
is
there's
a
that
lot
much
of money.
responsibility.
Right. And they do a lot of stuff. I
Yeah.
think that's a reasonable salary for the CEO to make.
Now, I don't know how much the Satanist folks make. I don't know who makes, because, I mean, we just spoke with a priest of the Satanic church,
And it's not a paid
Yeah, I mean,
thing.
he made a point of saying that when we kind of brought something like
Totally,
that up.
yeah.
So I don't think that there's a great deal of people who are paid by it. But I mean, obviously, if you're running an organization, there are costs involved.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying it's like a freaking pyramid scheme,
Right.
right? I'm just, I'm trying to from an atheist perspective, from a skeptic perspective, or from my understanding of what
Why do they need that?
what it like a spiritual organization versus a non-spiritual non-organization. What's the difference? Because there seems to be a lot of waffling, and maybe I just haven't read enough. But it's like, okay, we're a group that believes these things, and here's our dogma. But we also believe that there's no such thing as dogma, and that everyone's empowered to embody their own true self as they believe it to be. We're skeptical, but here's our magical rites and rituals.
No, I get what you're saying.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty, right? I like the aesthetic of it. I
Sure.
like the underlying principles in general.
It's the
but
practice of it more.
I see fucking hypocrisy and manipulation everywhere I look, and this is not an exception for me.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree.
feel like as atheists, I give them no more
merit.
respect or merit than
Yeah.
I would any other organized religion.
No, I
That's
wholeheartedly
understandable.
agree with you there. I mean, yeah, when they say, the magic, so from what I understand from listening and from talking with Raul, basically they're rebranding what every human does anyway to the best of their ability
Yeah.
as magic.
It's about yourself rather than actually expecting to really get an outcome.
But again,
Yeah, but I can learn that myself. Half of that shit is Confucius or Sufi or Buddhist or libertarian, anarchist,
But
and
you're gonna pay someone money to buy the book, right? I mean,
Nah, I just make it up.
She'll write her own book. Blackjack and hookers.
Right.
where can I buy that book? That's what I want to know. One last thing before we go. AD Cantu in the chat room asks what the CEO of the American Red Cross makes, and I Googled it real quick. About $500,000 a year.
Holy crap.
and on that note, that's ridiculous.
I think I made less than $16,000 last
I
year.
know I did.
Well, yeah. Okay, so
Jeez.
what is the CEO of some kind of
With my mother.
comparable?
Sorry, Luz, that was good.
Yeah, I missed it.
Do.
Anyway, go ahead.
Love
What
you,
was-
Well, I'm
Mom.
just thinking about what for-profit organization can you think of that compares with the Red Cross, like a hospital or
Sure.
something?
They're making a lot more
A
than that.
couple million, maybe.
Yeah.
So
Good point.
All right. Good show, guys.
Thank you for listening to Atheist
Yay.
Airwaves on Secular FM Radio, sponsored by Corpus Christi Atheists and the South Texas Coalition of Reason. If you have questions, requests, or complaints, or if you'd know someone who you'd like to have on the show as a caller or as a guest, something like that, let us know. Please write us at god@atheistairwaves.com. Connect with us and our affiliates.
Can I make one last announcement?
Please
so,
do.
Jay is getting his own advice show?
Yes, right? Oh my God, that was amazing. April 24th. Our April 24th show will feature Dr. Darrell Ray, and he will be
yes.
talking about his book, Sex and God. So go get that book right now.
I ordered it
and-
off at Amazon. It's coming in on Monday. I also got 3 other books, too. I have a book
You
problem.
bookaholic.
So
Yes.
go
There's a book
get that book right now, read it, and we're going to be taking listener calls. So read it and call in on April 24th.
Make
that will be
notes.
our first endeavor at taking live calls. And
Yeah.
We're moving up in the world.
there we go.
Righteous.
Connect
Have
with
a-
us and our affiliates by visiting ccatheist.com and all those other places. And thanks to YGO for our outro music. Bye, guys.
See y'all.
Bye.
He played the Pope intro.
Thanks, chat room. You guys are awesome.
Woo! Yay.
No, that was really fucking good, guys.
I enjoyed that.
I liked it.
I was actually surprisingly